Alright, what's going on, guys? Today we are talking about Bryan. This is arguably one of the strongest characters in the game. Contrary to popular belief, Bryan is very difficult to play, at least in terms of execution. I think his game plan is pretty simple, but execution-wise, this is for sure one of the hardest characters in the game. This is not a character that many people are going to be able to pick up and play because just of how rigid his execution requirements are. Taunt aside, you know, being able to launch -14 reliably, this is pretty hard to do if you're not gonna practice it, right? Like, you need to be able to practice this very consistently, and like you can see, I don't play Bryan, so like getting a jet upper reliably is pretty hard. But yeah, this is definitely one of the harder characters in the game in terms of execution, but his game plan is very simple because his buttons are so good. So let's get into his strengths. Before getting into anything else, we're going to talk about game plan. Bryan actually has a very simple game plan. He wants to be around range 3, and he wants to press counter-hit launchers. That's pretty much it. He just wants to be back here, just doing this. And doing this. That's more or less the long and the short of it. And then he wants to get you to duck so that he can start blowing you up with a lot of his mids, because he has very, very good mids. Honestly, all of his buttons are really good. He doesn't really have that many bad buttons. But he wants to get you to duck with down 4 and half the kick and corner shuttle back 1. He wants to get you to duck so that he can start using some of these mids where he can start doing, this. He can start throwing back 4 in the neutral. This, we'll talk about how this guarantees a heat engager. I'm not very good at it. He can start doing that. You can start, whip punishing with this because you try to contest him at his range and you call it wrong. That's what this character wants. He wants to sit all the way back here, and I think you're going to press, you're dead. Bryan is known for his, quite frankly, absurd number of counter-hit launchers, with most of these being safe or plus on block. 1-2-1. This is a counter launcher. This is a -6 on block, and it's a mid. Safe. Back 2. This is just a random high. Just 0 on block high. Counter launcher. Back 1, +4 on block, mid. That is also an elbow, meaning you can't punish it. Counter launcher. 3 +4. I don't know the pickup for this, but that's also a counter launcher. He also has forward 3. This is a knee, so you cannot parry this. And it is 0 or +2 on, or it's between 0 and +2, depending on how close he is. Counter launcher. Yeah, this guy has some pretty crazy stuff. Corner shuttle back 1. I don't know the pickup for this. Counter launcher. Yep, pretty good. He also has while standing 3 or QCF 3. This is a counter launcher that he can do from crouch. If you use something like a heat burst, or it's another move that forces crouch on hit or on block, if you aren't very tight with your frames, you are dead. This will counter launch you. Also, this has a follow-up. He can rip the follow-up, and it doesn't prevent him from launching you. A lot of the strings that do this same thing, where the first hit will launch you, the second hit does something else, Bryan doesn't have to deal with the downside of, oh, I like messed up my launch. Nope. He can just rip the follow-up, and it's not good. The same is true of this string. This string does pretty insane damage. Yeah. So, very, very potent counter launching suite. Beyond that, he just has some great buttons. So one of the first ones we'll talk about is forward 4-1. This is a very long-range whiff punisher. Bryans will use this all the time. It's a super, super good whiff punisher. You can see how far away it hits from. If you whip something in Bryan's face, up in the air you go. Very, very powerful. Also has down forward 4. This is just a medium homing mid. Guaranteed follow-up. Super good. Safe on block. Also has 4-4-4. Hide homing move. Guaranteed follow-up. Very, very good. The execution here is actually pretty tight. If you're not very fast with it, they'll be able to stand up. But that's guaranteed. Very good. 1+2, 2. This is a launcher at the wall. Very powerful. Also, this is a launcher if you do not tech roll to the right. This tech roll is a just frame, by the way, but if you don't tech roll this to the right, you can just use this in the neutral. Pretty powerful. Just to show you if you can get out of this. This is a just frame tech roll, but this is very hard to do. I lapped that for like 10-15 minutes. I didn't get it a single time. Another very good move. Back 4. If you have the execution for it, you get a guaranteed heat engage here. Yep, that is guaranteed. This is very hard to do. Again, I don't play Bryan, so that's super, super hard to do consistently. At least if you haven't practiced it. I haven't practiced this, so this is hard to do, but once you practice it, you should be able to do that very consistently. Also, back 4 at the wall, this is just a launcher. Also, at the wall, this is a launcher. Not bad. It is -10 on block, but this has so much pushback that most characters can't punish this. Like, this is enough pushback that a lot of characters are going to have a hard time punching, especially those with stubby jab ranges. So, yeah. Pretty good move. Also has Orbital. This is the character that it was named after. So every character who has this, you could thank Bryan for why it's called an Orbital. This is a relatively fast at 24 frames, so it's like on the edge of reactability. -5 normal hit launcher that low crushes. Very powerful. Also has corner circle forward 1+2. Very long range elbow. Safe. +5 and is a heat death launcher. I don't know the combo for it, but yeah. Pretty powerful stuff. And that's gonna just wrap it up for his more general good moves, but as you can see, he has a lot of them. Something that a lot of people don't talk about is how good Bryan's low game is. This is a character with some pretty insane lows. Obviously, everyone knows about Hatchet Kick. This is +5 on hit, which is really great advantage, which we'll talk about later what he can do with that advantage. That's really good, and it's also -13, which isn't that unsafe. Kazuya is the only character that can launch this. Anna can launch it, but it's on a hard reach. You can't do it on reaction or anything like that. So there are only 2 characters in the game that can launch this, which is nice. So that's a very good low, obviously. But there's also down 4. This has pretty generous range. Hits from like range 2.4. And it's 0 on hit. So that's not bad at all for a low of this range. And it is fast. -11. You're getting like the worst punish in the world against this. Very, very safe for like what it does for his game plan. He uses this to get you to duck so he can start blowing you up with these mids. So very, very good low. Can't overstate how good that is. Down back 3 is very similar. This also high crushes, which is great. -1 on hit, so it's a little bit worse than down 4, but -12 on block. Again, super good low. And then on top of that, we also have his full crouch Hatchet Kick, which is down forward 3 from full crouch. This is just an insane button. +7 on hit is pretty crazy, especially when you consider that it's -13 on block. It's a pretty insane reward for not that much risk. For the last pro, let's talk about Bryan's punishment. This is a character who in the past would be characterized as having pretty poor punishment. His 10 frame 1-4 is +4, 19 frames, it's not very good. And then his 4-3 is +2. It is 27 damage, which is okay, but +2 is pretty bad. Now his 10 frame is still bad. That's, you know, that's what it is. But his 12 frame, now he has a 4-1 into backsway, which is pretty nuts. This is really good for his combos. It makes his combos a lot easier, where you start getting combos like this, Like, that is very, very easy. I don't play Bryan. That's very little execution, and you still get pretty good damage. But it's also one of his best punishers. At +8, you have to hold this backswing mix-up. So, 1, you can't step any of this, but 2, and more importantly, uninterruptible high counter hit launcher, uninterruptible mid with guaranteed follow-up, uninterruptible normal hit launcher, and hatchet kick that you can technically jet out of, but why would you when you get blown up for pressing on any of the other buttons? Yeah, it's pretty good. He also has jet upper, which is forward neutral back 2. This button is a 14 frame normal hit launcher. You can also buffer it, so the execution requirement isn't anywhere near as strict as you would think. That I buffered this during the block step. Now, obviously, I'll play Bryan, so I'm not going to get it every single time because, you know, again, I'll play this character. But, yeah, you can buffer this during the block stun. Super, super good. He has While Rising Punishment, isn't bad either. He has While Rising 4, this is just a normal While Rising 4. He has While Rising 3. He can rip the 4 for follow-up after. This is not guaranteed even on normal hit. However, it is good on counter hit and it's good in his combos, so that's something that he has access to. This is 12 frame punish. On 13, he has full crouch down forward 2-1. Not bad. The second hit is a high though, so if you block this first hit, you do want to be ducking and launching second hit. And on 15, he has his While Rising 1, which is just a normal 15 frame launcher. He is -14 on block though, which is pretty unsafe given that it's just a regular launcher. He does also have Fisherman Slam. This is a 19 frame, so you're really only using it to punish Hell Sweeps. In general, I wouldn't recommend going for this unless you know the back turn combo. There is a very hard side switch back turn combo with it that does like 100 damage. That is insanely powerful, but I don't know it because I don't play this character. So that is going to wrap it up for Bryan's positives. As you can see, there are many, and they are pretty impressive in a lot of ways. Now, in terms of negatives, he does have a few. They're not super negative, but, you know, they are there. The first of which is Bryan does not have a lot of panic buttons. Now, by panic buttons, I mean, like, does Bryan have a safe, fast button that he can just, or not necessarily safe, but does he have, like, a fast, high reward button that he can press when he's under pressure? Not really. He has armor, so he has his up 1. So this is armor, and it gives him Snake Eyes, which is really good. And then when he has Snake Eyes, he has forward 1+2. This is a parry that also will wall splats. So that's really good. But if he doesn't have Snake Eyes, like every character has armor. If he doesn't have Snake Eyes, he can't really get you off of it. Right? His fastest like counter hit launcher is gonna be QCF 3 if he does this as fast as possible. This is 14 frames, but most Bryans aren't going to be able to do this as fast as possible. Like, I'm not super locked in, but even with me practicing it, the fastest I've been able to get it was 16 frames, which is just not very fast, to be frank. So, he doesn't really have great panic buttons. You know, he can armor, every character can, and he has this, but if he's wrong with the call out on this, he's punishable. And this is just not super fast. For most players, coming out at 16 to 18 frames. So he doesn't have great buttons to get him out of trouble if he really, really needs to be bailed out. That's going to be the first big weakness that you see. The next weakness we're going to talk about is Bryan's tracking. This isn't a major weakness, but in general, his right is going to be his weaker side for tracking. So if you want to step his frames, sidewalking right is going to be your best bet. Now, Bryan can very reliably generate +4 off of back 1, and +5 off of corner circle back 1 and corner circle back 3. Notably, the +5 on corner circle back 1 and on corner circle back 3 are a little bit different, and this is because of the pushback. It's complicated, but we'll talk about it when it's relevant. But, okay. Off of +5, jab strings whiff, another corner circle back 1 whiffs, back 1 whiffs, corner circle back 4 whiffs, back 4 whiffs, 3+4 whiffs, forward 4-1 whiffs, back 2-1 whiffs. There's a lot of stuff that's whiffing on +5. The issue is on a different +5, these jab strings hit. So that's annoying, but sidewalking right in general is going to be pretty good. Now, he does have moves that track this way. So if we set Rain to sidewalk left, you'll see that, or I guess we'll put it back. So hatchet kick is going to track to his right. Corner circle forward 1 is going to track to his right. Corner circle forward 3 is going to track to his right. And forward 3 are going to track to his right. Notably, these do not track to the left. So these don't track. Now again, hatchet kick is a little bit weird. If a corner circle back 1 +5, a hatchet kick is homing. But off of hatchet kick +5, the second one whiffs. It's very annoying, but that's what it is. In general, stepping to his right is pretty good, but he does have good moves that track to that side. In addition to that, he also has moves that are just kind of homing. Oh, also another move that is going to track you is if he has Snake Eyes, the second hit of Requiem or the second hit of Incinerator is going to track, which is that string. That string does not track to his left. So you can also step that to the left if you're making a hard read. However, with all of that being said, even though his right is his weak side, he has pseudo-homing moves that track to both sides. Down 4 is homing on +5. You can't step it to either direction. Down back 3 is homing on +5. And those are the big ones. So if he is reading a sidestep of any kind, he can use a true homing move, or he can use these lows that will track you. So yeah, pretty good tracking. And tracking is not a major weakness, but technically his right is his weak side. The last weakness that we're going to talk about is that Bryan actually takes small risks very often. Now, what I mean by that is he has a lot of moves that are -10, -12, -13 that he rips all the time, and they're good moves, but he has a lot of these that you really need to be on the lookout for and make sure that you're punishing. So moves like While Standing 3, this is -10, no one punishes this. Moves like Back 4, -10, no one punishes this. Moves like Full Crouch Down 4-3, -10. Fisherman Slam, -10. These are all -10, and Bryan's used these quite a bit. If you're punishing these, you're talking about, 23 damage in the case of Reyna, but most characters just 20 damage. Talking about 20 times, what, 2 to 5, depending on how many times you're using this. You're leaving between 40 and 100 damage on the table just based on how much Bryan's using these moves. Also has moves like forward 4-1. This is -13 and forces crouch. Do you use your wall rising 13 frame punish? Kazuya can launch this, by the way. A lot of people just don't even know that. That's a move that you really want to be punished. Corner circle forward 1. This is -14. Certain characters can launch this. Notably, Bryan can launch this. So if you're in the Bryan mirror, you want to be sure that you're launching this whenever Bryan uses it. Beyond that, he also has 1+2-2. This is also a -14. Has a little bit of pushback though, so it's kind of hard to punish depending on the character you're using. Yeah, just make sure that you're punishing these moves. While Standing 3-4, this is also -10. Make sure that you're punishing these moves. Bryan players have to use these moves relatively, well, they don't have to, but Bryan players use these moves relatively often, so you really don't want to be leaving all of that damage on the table because it just gives Bryan more chances to counter hit you and deal 100 damage. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the weaknesses. Bryan in general just doesn't have like super great weaknesses besides the no panic buttons. That is really the biggest thing where he's really soft to Rushdown. But yeah, now we're going to get into his strings. This character has a lot of strings, and in intermediate play, you guys are going to be seeing a lot of these strings. So I'm just going to go over them now so you know what to look out for. First up is his jab strings. He has 1, 2, 3, he has 1, 2, 4, and he has 1, 2, 1. If this first hit counter hits, the whole string is guaranteed regardless of what he picks, which means he's probably going to be ripping the 4 because it's just the best option, right? Is the heat engager. But more importantly, this is a mix-up. So 1, 2, 4 is a high. You want to duck and launches if you think he's going to use it. Bryan's will just kind of send it out because if you try to mash or something, if he does a lot of this, then like he can do this and clip you with it. You can also do this low. This low is -12. You really want to low parry this because most characters aren't getting a whole lot off of -12. And then he has this safe mid. Notably, this mid is a counter hit launcher and it's delayable. So yeah, it's not the best mix-up ever, but in general, what I would say is you just want to look for these highs and these lows. If he uses these regularly, you want to make sure that you're ducking and punching accordingly. Next is his down forward 1, 2 string. Each of these hits are delayable, and once one of them is confirmed to connect, you can just finish the rest of the string, and you take quite a bit of damage. Now you see here, on block, these are -10. So if he stops, and mainly he can only do 4 of these punches, so once the 4th one comes, you can just rip a jab punish here. Now you do need to be aware of the 2 option. This is -15 if he thinks you're gonna punish the 4th hit, so make sure you launch this. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this string. It's not super complicated, but Bryan can check with this relatively safely because he has the threat of finishing the string. Now the next series of strings is pretty tricky. He has his 1, 4, 2, 1 string, he has his back 2, 1 string, and he has his corner circle 4, 4, 1 string. These all have this same backhand that's a normal hit launcher. On top of that, not only is this a normal hit launcher, 0 on block. However, these are all highs, which means that you really want to be looking out for this string and looking to duck this because it's too much damage that you're going to take if this hits you. It's one of his highest damage launchers, and it's because it's so risky because it's a bunch of highs. Same thing with corner circle 4, 4, 1. This is slower and it's a mid high, but you really want to be looking out for this and ducking it because it's so deadly. And this is especially true because the back 2, 1 is a counter hit launcher. The amount of damage he gets off this is like kind of disgusting. 82 damage after the heat burst is insane for just a random, oh, I'm just going to use this in the neutral, oh, you pressed, you're just dead. That's a lot of damage. So you really want to be looking out for these strings and making sure that you're not getting hit by them. Okay, so this next set of strings, it's just bad, to be honest, but you're going to see it a lot, so figured I would go over it. It's 3, 2, 1 is the starter. This is safe. You can't do anything about this. There's also back 3, 2, 2, 1. This is the starter again. Off of back 3, the second hit's a high, but ducking this is really hard. So personally, I wouldn't even bother trying to duck this. You can if you're really locked in, but I wouldn't try to duck it. These both have the same following. You either have this -10 on block mid that wall splats. He doesn't do anything on counter hit, it just wall splats. Or you have this low. The low is 0 on hit, just 12 damage, which isn't very good, and it's -11 on block. So I would either look for a low parry or a stand to block here. If you stand to block and they do the mid, it's -10, get your 10 frame. If they do the low and you successfully read a low parry, it is, you get your low parry combo. So yeah, the string sucks, but you do see it a lot at intermediate play, so just be on the lookout for it. Next is down 3, 2. This is short and sweet. This is a low that does not guarantee the high, so you want to be ducking the high. That's pretty much it. On counter hit, the low guarantees the high, but all you need to know is if you see a Bryan do this, you want to duck out of it, because if he rips his high, you get a free launch. So this next string is pretty annoying if you're not ready for it. This is his 3, 3, 2 and 3, 3, 4. Now, as you can see, you can sidewalk the 4 option here. The 4 option is also really slow, so that is something to keep in mind. You cannot sidewalk this jet upper here. You can't sidewalk this. I tried to both sides. You can't do it. However, if you notice, the jet upper is 22 frames and the mid is 28 frames. This means that you can fuzzy duck this. Now, what a fuzzy duck is you practice ducking for, you know, to avoid the 22 frames. And if the high doesn't come out, you stand up in time to block the mid. That is something that you can do. It is hard to do it, but it is something that you can do. If you successfully do that, the mid is -12 with pushback, but it is -12. Alternatively, you can avoid all of that and duck this second hit. Second hit's a high. So if you can reliably duck this second hit, then that's what I would do. Otherwise, I would learn how to fuzzy duck this. If you fuzzy duck here, then you will always launch the jet upper and you will always stand up in time to block the mid. So this is what the fuzzy duck is going to look like when you do it correctly. So you see here, she quick ducks and backs away. And then if I do the mid, you see she stands up in time to actually block it. That's what the fuzzy duck is going to look like. Again, you do need to lab this to get the timing down for this string in particular. But if you learn how to do this, you can reliably fuzzy duck this and you never have to hold this mix up. Again, assuming you don't duck the second hit on it. Next up is down forward 3 or down 3+4 2. This string is guaranteed on counter hit. It's not guaranteed on normal hit. And a wall splats notably, so that's super good. However, this has a cancel where you can cancel it into full crouch. So you will see this a lot, especially at the wall, where Bryan players will do down 3-4 2 down back to get this cancel, and then they'll rip a northern cross, which is full crouch down 4-4. The reason they do this, high crushing wall splatting mid, it's only -10. Also, if Bryan has snake eyes, he can do full crouch down forward 3, which is his hatchet. Yep, very annoying, but it is technically a mix-up. But you kind of just want to sit here and block, especially if he doesn't have snake eyes, because both of these options are minus. It's very rare you're going to see a Bryan like actually run a super robust mix-up where they're going to do like this. Like, I've never seen a Bryan do something like that. They usually just go for a northern cross or hatchet. So yeah, just be on the lookout for that. So this next string, while it is also a mid-high and a mid-mid mix-up, because of how fast this high recovers, you can't actually fuzzy duck this, because if you try to fuzzy this, you're not going to be able to punish this in time, because this recovery is basically instant. As a consequence, you kind of just want to block here. If he does the high and you block it, it's -1 into a mix-up. The whole mix-up loses to 13 frame or faster. So if you have a 13 frame move and you think he's gonna press something, cool. And if you just wait, -13. That's what I would say for this. Because of the way that these moves work in particular, you just can't really fuzzy here. Notably, if you are playing a character like Reyna that has a parry, that's just like a generic parry. Reyna actually has something really cool that she can do here, where she can block the first hit and then input a parry. If the high comes out, she'll just get hit by the high, and if the mid comes out, she'll successfully parry. I'll show what that looks like now. So now I have her set up to parry. If I do this high, she just gets hit by it, which isn't great, by the way. It's -8 in the backsway, but she does just get hit by it. But if I do the mid, she always parries here, and she gets to run the Heaven's Wrath 1 into the Sentai 3, which is guaranteed heat engager because I went for this. So it's pretty good stuff. 1+2 1 and 1+2 2. This is kind of a mix-up. If you're really good, you can fuzzy duck this, but like the timing on it is really tight. However, something to know is that 1+2 1 is a high, so you can duck this. You're gonna see this a bit in the neutral because it's safe. It's only -1 on block if he goes into backsway. and a -1 on block into sway, or it's actually 0 on block. So 0 on block into sway is really good because he has a 13 frame counter hit launcher. So if you press the wrong button here, if you press something 13 frames or slower, you die here. So yeah, this is like totally fine on block, and Bryan's like in a pretty good position, so I wouldn't, like, he's going to use the high quite a bit. What you really need to be careful for is this mid. This is a normal hit launcher if you tech roll to the right or don't tech roll, or if you tech roll to the left or don't tech roll at all. So this is a normal hit launcher. Technically, if you tech roll to the right, you can evade this. This is a just free. I labbed this for like 10 minutes. I did not get it a single time. It doesn't mean you shouldn't lab it, but it does mean you're going to get launched most of the time if you get this. This is basically a launcher. Now, at the wall, you're having a bad time. But yeah, that's the deal with that string. If you see him using it a lot, be ready to duck, or you can just block and do what you do on block. It's either -14 or he runs the backsway mix. It's up to you. Corner circle back 2-1 isn't really a mix-up, but this, or corner circle back 2-4 rather. This isn't really a mix-up, but the second hit is delayable. So you'll see a lot of Bryans, they'll just do this, and then towards the end of the delay, they'll rip the high. Both of these are -9, so if you just decide to block the whole thing, it's very much your turn. But you can duck this. So be on the lookout to duck this. If you duck it, you can launch it when he dies. Another mid-high string is sidestep 2-1. If the 2 hits, the 1 is guaranteed, like most of these mid-high strings, but you can duck this. If you see this like a gut punch thing here, it's like an uppercut gut punch, be ready to duck. This elbow is the only thing that can come after this. So yeah, just duck and launch. Last thing we're going to talk about is his incinerator string, forward 2-1-2-3-2. Now this string is especially dangerous. It's not as broken as it used to be. You used to not be able to step it. It used to fully realign, so it didn't matter where you were on the screen. Bryan would keep turning his body to face you. It doesn't do that anymore. But now if any of these hit you, the whole string is going to hit you, which is, you know, it's what it is. It does have pretty weak tracking to his left. So if you're looking for this string in particular, you can't step to his left. But it's pretty good. You can delay some of these hits a little bit, which is good, but also because of the risk of the follow-ups, you really don't want to be contesting here, which means that Bryan is effectively plus here, so he can do 2-1-2, which is -2. He can do 2-1-2-3, which is -3, and then 2-1-2-3-2 is -10 with pushback. The issue is he might finish the string, so he's basically plus here. He just keep taking his turn because he might finish it. Very annoying string. Very powerful. I guess the only downside is that it doesn't track to his left anymore. Alright, so that is pretty much going to wrap it up for Bryan. Normally this is when I would say, oh, this character, you know, here's all the weaknesses, but to be honest, he has a slight weakness to sidewalk right, and he kind of doesn't have any panic buttons. But this parry, 4-4-1-2, this looks like a normal like cutscene punch for some reason. This can absorb attacks and parry, and also it wall splats. So it seems like a pretty good panic button to me. But yeah, this character really doesn't have great weaknesses in my opinion. He kind of just does everything, and he's pretty good. The only real downside is that he is hard, and to be honest, I'm personally of the belief that harder characters are allowed to be better because, you know, you need to be a better player to access all their tools, but this character is pretty nuts. The only other things I want to talk to you guys about today are just don't get hit by these. This is just some Snake Edge, down 4-3, 29 frames. Don't get hit by this. And then back down forward 4 is also 29 frames. Bryan can cancel this, but he's so minus here that even off of a cancel, it's not really the best scenario. So if Bryan tries, this has a really awkward. If Bryan tries to cancel this here, then you can just kind of blow him up anyways by just jabbing. Specifically, if you're Kazuya, Anna, or one of the characters with the 14 frame launcher, which I believe is Asuka, Jun, and Jin. All of those characters have while rising 14 frame launchers. If you're one of these characters, you can try just ripping it, because you either launch the low anyways, or if he tries to cancel into press, you'll just counter hit him. That is an option, but yeah, don't get hit by those. They're 29 frame startup. If you get hit by them, that's not good. Work on that. But yeah, that's going to wrap it up for this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. I believe the next character I'm working on is Lars, so be on the lookout for that.